Alright, what is going on YouTube? John the Fearless versus Philip the Good, the final quarterfinals of Hidden Cup 4. So the final spot available in the semifinals tomorrow. We're going to have John the Fearless picking Cup and Gold Rush as his home maps. High Tides and Bay will be Philip the Good's home map overall. Mudflow and Islands will be the bans. And on the other side, John the Fearless banned Lithuanians, Philip bans Mayans. The first civilization selection from both players were the Snipes, Chinese, and Tatars. John the Fearless will be left with Britons, Vikings, Malians, Berbers, Tatars, Berbers, Malay, and Bulgarians. Other side, Italians, Aztecs, Japanese, Mongols, Celts, and Vietnamese are the civilizations. Bulgaria is definitely a unique civilization selection, and we, I think, have a fairly good guess on who these players are. Once again, I can't make it completely predictionless because that's the whole point of the tournament. In my perspective, close your ears if you don't want to hear it, although I will probably say this throughout the series. John the Fearless is most likely Hera, and I think Philip the Good is Leary. So we could have a Hera versus Leary showdown here. The thing is that both of these players actually played Britons on Cup, and they were the only two players in the previous round playing Britons on Cup. The Bulgarians for Hera, is a very, very common pick for Hera. It actually fits the narrative of the players selecting mostly land-based maps, banning islands and Mudflow, which are the less conventional maps, so to say, compared to land. So that's going to be interesting. The Tatars ban, I believe, from John the Fearless is because he wants to make sure that his opponent picks Aztecs for Arabia, because I think he wants to use Bulgarians versus Aztecs. We have seen that matchup in the previous round. I believe it was either Bulgarians versus Aztecs or Bulgarians versus Mayans. So this could very well be a Hera versus Leary setup. And I think after this set, I will be fairly sure about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of my picks for the players out of the 16. This evening, I will rewatch some of the VODs and try to figure out the players that got eliminated in the first round, because that's going to be the biggest question, I believe, for us. So with that, here is the first game. I'll have to jump in there as well. So let's jump into game number 1 over here. Arabia between John the Fearless versus Philip the Good. So we will get in here and let's go. We're gonna have a blue versus yellow color matchup over here. We also need to set up the scoreboard. But welcome to first game of this best of 5 in between John the Fearless and Philip the Good in Hidden Cup 4. We'll have John the Fearless on the right side in blue as Vikings, and other side is Vietnamese for Philip the Good in yellow. So apparently both of these players went for some less conventional civilization selections. I assume that because John the Fearless went for Bulgarians in the previous round, he suspected that... It's hard to say, because the players don't see the previous round of the other players, but maybe he had a feeling that his opponent isn't going to pick Aztecs here, just seeing the draft and the Vietnamese. And I did mention that I think Philip the Good is Leary, and the thing is that Vietnamese is a very, very Leary-esque civilization pick. Overall, Leary is an excellent archer player, and Vietnamese wouldn't really be a very, very popular 1v1 civilization selection over here. It looks like we have a bit of a scuffle with the scouts, which is won by Philip, and he actually is successful laming away 2 sheep from his opponent. Let's talk maps. The map here for John the Fearless, this is an awful gold. This stone isn't really great either. The other 2 golds are also on the far right. This is a very, very bad map for John the Fearless, especially with Vikings. That is an archer civilization, so you will need gold immediately. And this one, other side, is a much, much better map for Philip the Good. The right side is very open, but this gold mine is actually very nice over here. And what's actually very good is all these wood lines sheltering the front over here. So you can actually go for like a house here. And you might even go for your ranges over here, to be honest, in this case. So this is vulnerable. I don't think that you want your barracks range here. It's possible, but then your right side is very open. And I don't know how you would wall this one off. Now, if this is indeed a Leary versus Hera showdown, I would think that we will see some limited amount of walling, because both of these players are fairly confident playing without walls. First ball is in for Philip, and On the other side, we are gonna have the firstborn in as well for John the Fearless. Philip is still lurking around his opponent's base here with his scout, see if he can find some other sheep to lay, but it seems very, very unlikely right now. So, second house coming in here for Philip, and eventually Philip is actually trying to block the deer push here. Now the thing is that his scout has a lower HP, so technically John could just fight this one, but instead John will just give up on that. There was apparently, I think, no deer, no, it had to be one deer pushed in because there is a 4 deer spawn here. Sometimes it spawns with 3, sometimes it spawns with 4 deer, although I think it mostly spawns with 4. So having 3 deer over here means that John the Fearless has already pushed in 1 deer for himself. And it looks like he's probably going to use this gold as part of his wall, just wall like this. That is actually a pre-milled rush here from John the Fearless. Whereas for Philip the Good, we will have a mill up already. And with Vietnamese, you could try playing Drush FC, but it seems like it's going to be a man-at-arms archers or a straight archers play here, especially with these type of walls. It sort of seems like Philip will just wall using that gold mine. So as I said, neither of these players are big wallers, which to me is a bit of a signal towards these players. Once again, could be Harold Leary. Many other players would wall a lot more, and I know that at least half of the players on this map would wall like this. So these little walls from both sides, neither of them actually really protecting these resources. These players both are confident playing without walls. And I'm fairly certain, I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that they know about each other here. Based on the drafts, that could be a thing. And remember, these players know each other really, really well. They are good friends. They discuss strategies between each other as well. Both of them, the members of Tempo Storm. So really, just by looking at the draft, you might actually be able to say, hey, I think I know who this guy is. So it looks like it's a premium rush, as I said. The question is the follow-up. I think this map is awful for Rush FC, so you probably gotta go with Rush Archers, and that probably is the case indeed for John the Fearless. He's gonna go 24 Villagers, and the quick walls are coming in here. Nice quick walls from Philip. And well, once again, look at these crazy quick walls. I did mention that I have some feelings about these players. We can already rule out a lot of players with these type of quick walls. These are some crazy fast walls over there. And I think I'm actually happy because I'm starting to feel that I'm getting to a good position with guessing the players. But it's always easier to guess players that get deeper into the tournament because obviously you have more material to watch from them. It looks like Philip is actually doing a very, very aggressive fuel age here. What even is this? 20 pop. It's a 20 pop straight archer build or what? It kind of seems like it. This seems super, super greedy. Fast double bit axe. This is a very, very interesting build from Philip here. The archer range comes in here at the same time, and this is one of the reasons why I pick Vietnamese here. And I'm starting to understand the Vietnamese pick now. The thing is that Vietnamese eco upgrades do not cost wood, which means that you never pull off a 20 pop archer build with double bit axe. And without double bit axe, it's not really worth going for. But with Vietnamese, you can go for 20 pop because you don't need to spend wood on the lumber camp upgrade. You can get the lumber camp upgrade immediately. And you can also go for the archer range because you don't spend wood on that. So that's the idea behind the Vietnamese on this map. And this is a very, very fast archer play over here. Whereas for John the Fearless, it seems like he actually went up to 26 villagers for this one and quite a lot of farms. I wonder if he wants to Drush FC this. It seems unlikely because the food would be very, very low for that. But 26 villagers for a Drush into archers is quite late, especially with such a gold mine. You already see that Philip is gonna start moving in. I think Philip can already hit this gold mine from this hill. This is a very, very bad gold mine for John the Fearless, I have to say. That's an absolutely awful gold mine. With that, archers are slowly trickling in. There is already a blacksmith. This is a very, very nice and clean build from Philip. Both players have around 15 seconds of idle time on their PC. Look at this. He's already bringing in the archer, killing the huntable, just to make sure he can be as devastating with that as possible. This House force building is something that Hero loves to do, by the way. I just want to point this one out. That this is something that he's really in love with. So it looks like indeed it's a late Drush Archers build. Here is the Blacksmith and the Archer range coming in. For now, the gold is still accessible for our blue player. We got Philip the Good still alright. He doesn't really care about those militias right now. Now Archers will get fletching, and I think those Archers might be able to reach the villagers on the gold mine now. I'm not 100% sure, but they're trying to deny the Blacksmith. And if the Blacksmith goes denied, that's going to be a disaster. Archers once again have to show the villager. And the Blacksmith will be extremely important for John because he needs the Archer upgrades over here. He's gonna get the Blacksmith up though, so that's going to be successful. Vietnamese Archers, however, also have extra HP compared to standard Archers, so that's going to be an advantage. Plus, you also have to consider that Philip already has 4 Archers, 2 Skirms on the field, whereas his opponent has only 1 Archer in queue, and that is basically it. So the numbers are also favoring Philip over here, and as I said, this gold mine is really bad for John the Fearless. That's the main problem he's facing. I like the Spearman addition. The Spearman being added means that you can actually get through these walls a little easier because the Spearman helps taking down those walls. So is the Scout. These militias, however, actually were almost able to get in here. I'm not sure what happened, but thanks to Capture Age, we can actually rewind this. So, oh, this was so smart. Look at this from our blue player. He was waiting for that overchop, and right when the overchop happened, he actually sent in the militia, but reaction was also nice from Philip. He actually got the Palisade wall up in time. Absolutely amazing performance from both players. John the Fearless's move to wait until he's able to run inside with the militias, and then a reaction from Philip. Both of these are extremely sharp players right now. So the Vikings eco will naturally be a lot better, and that's where Vietnamese start to struggle. So yeah, the Vietnamese Archers are better, but at the end of the day, the eco of the Vikings is just so powerful. You already have wheelbarrow over there for them, so even though the villager count is even, wheelbarrow is helping a lot here for John the Fearless, and that's gonna be handcart as well once we reach to Castle Age. It looks like Philip actually wants to try and hit some of the woodlands over here from the back. John the Fearless going for a one-range build, so is his opponent, so the numbers should be relatively even, but it's mostly skirmishers from John. Some idle time coming in here, but no villagers actually killed by Philip. And it is only 3 on gold for John the Fearless, so he's really going for a skirmisher defense and boom into Castle Age, whereas his opponent is going for a lot more aggressive approach. Castle Age time should be fairly close, but I would expect John the Fearless to be able to beat his opponent there a little bit. No defense upgrade on the Archers and Skirms for either side at the time being. And once again, look at this. This is a nice move. Philip wants to drag this army to the right side, and he's gonna send in another army. That's so good unit control. I love when players do that. Drag away the army of the opponent to the right side and bring on another army. On the left, Castle Age is going to be coming in for John the Fearless in a matter of moments. Whereas for Philip, he's dropping range number 2. So we're gonna have some good old-fashioned Archer wars, and it looks like John isn't going to take the bait. He knows exactly that his opponent just wants to distract him, and he's probably waiting for the reinforcements in here. The Scout goes down, but this gives information for Philip. Reacts immediately and turns back with the Archers, tries to unite the 2 armies, as he is gonna get beaten to Castle Age by about half a minute or so. Oh, nice move over there, though. John the Fearless unable to find that army, and it seems like Philip is going to be able to unite his armies and strike at the woodline once again. I think John the Fearless knows that he has been outmaneuvered, so he's going to fall back home. Archer defense coming in here, and it's going to end up being a 1-minute advantage into Castle Age, but that's a nice first villager kill of the game for Philip, meaning that that's 1 less villager deficit, I would say, for Philip, because he's still going to be behind by 6 or so because of the wheelbarrow and handcart advantage of the opponent. There is also horse color as well for John the Fearless, which is a nice added benefit. Kill advantage now on the side of Philip, but he doesn't have the extra defense, so this is a good position for John to fight against this one. And with the +1 defense, you can see both players are actually big micro-runners over here, juking and diving with those Archers. The second range was up much faster for Philip. And I just forgot to mention something at the beginning of the game. It actually just popped into my mind when I was thinking about Vietnamese Civ bonuses. You remember that Philip the Good actually stole 2 sheep from the opponent? Part of that comes from the fact that Philip is Vietnamese, so he knows exactly where the opponent's starting TC is at. I actually forgot about that, but that makes Vietnamese an actually very, very good laming civ on Arabia, because you know where to go and where exactly your opponent's TC is at, and you can avoid the TC fire with your scout. So it's going to be full skirmisher play right now from Philip, and it seems like it's gonna be Siege Workshop right now for John. Back at home, so it's defensive Siege Workshop, and I assume we're gonna get Elite Skirm here for Philip. Up to Castle Age he's not going for Crossbowman. He's got 13 skirms, 9 archers, so when he can afford it, I think Crossbow still makes sense for him. But once he has Elite Skirm, he could sandwich this army in between his 2 forces, and I guess that's the one thing that he is wishing to do. That's a fast university for ballistics on one side. Other side, John the Fearless instead goes for a second TC, so he's going for a lot more eco-heavy approach, whereas for Philip, it's a much more aggro and military-focused approach. Elite Skirm is in, and it looks like Philip will actually prioritize Bowsaw over Crossbowman, so we might not see a lot more crossbows from Philip. Neither of these civilizations are very, very versatile. Both of these are super heavily focused towards archers, but I feel like if Philip isn't able to start doing damage to John the Fearless, John will just outboom him and go for Arbalest Siege Ram. You see that there is Order TC number 3 coming up for John. He's gonna have defensive Siege Workshop, so pushing John here is going to be extremely hard, as he's looping all the way around with the crossbows, trying to find an entrance to the opponent's base. Might actually find one over here, but this will just make Philip actually send all his skirms there. Ballistics will be in for Philip. But really the problem that Philip is facing right now, as he's gonna get to Crossbowman, once again start setting crossbows, is that his army is not going to be able to do a lot of damage to John the Fearless, and John already is increasing his eco lead. It's Boso Horse Color Handcart versus no Handcart at all, and already Frey Villagers lead. This is a nice cleanup over here from Philip, but this is just a small part of the equation, to be honest, because the reality is that the Siege Workshop here to defend, plus the free TC boom with Vikings, look at how many Villagers are already queued up. This is crazy. You don't even need to have an awful lot of Villagers on foot right now, because you already have 4 Villagers queued up on each of the town centers. And Mangonel defense, and then just booming to Arbalest and Siege Ram seems like a very, very good way of dealing with Vietnamese here. It looks like Philip is actually going to drop the second town center over here just now. And now crossbows will be hitting the gold mine over here. That's probably your best bet indeed, trying to hit that gold mine, but John the Fearless has another gold mine over here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a TC over here, or the alternative is that you start mining stone and you drop a castle here. The tricky thing is that John doesn't really have a safe stone income, and now it's going to be an aggressive play from Philip. He brings in the Siege Workshop. I don't think that... okay, John spots that. This is huge. John spots the Siege Workshop and he can kill the Villager. And if that Villager goes down, that's a disaster for Philip, because that Siege Workshop needs to go up. Otherwise, he's got no hope of pushing the opponent's base here. Siege Workshop goes down, and there is no other Villager coming in here for Philip. I think you want to camp at least 2 crossbows in here, just to make sure that you deny that Siege Workshop, because that's so, so important. These skirms and crossbows will try to loop around. The TC here will be able to protect the flank. You still have no stone income, as I said, for John the Fearless, because that's going to be a little bit harder to accomplish with such an exposed stone. But a defensive castle could be very, very helpful at stalling out Castle Age push like this. Mangonels come in here, and the Mangonels, let's see the ground attack. It looks like our yellow player is actually pretty confident in his micro. Meanwhile, Mangonel and Scorpion taking shots on the skirmishers. Still no Villager to finish that workshop. Double Mangonels coming in here, firing up hills, but those crossbows still feel a little cornered, and they are slowly getting torn apart by the Mangonels. Nice micro over there from Philip. Confident crossbow micro against Mangonels. Once again, not a lot of people that you can think about when you speak about that. Still, most of the skirmishers are dead, which means that the crossbows will just be able to finish off the opponent's crossbows. +2 defense is in already for Philip the Good, but at this point, the problem that Philip is facing is that while everything was this happening, there is 20 Villagers lead for John the Fearless. While all of this was happening, he just got outboomed really badly. And honestly, if you look at John the Fearless with how many Villagers he's got queued up in the TCs, it is actually almost ready to Imperial. Like, I think I'm fairly certain that these two players are Hera and Leary. The real question is who is Hera and who is Leary. I'm leaning towards John the Fearless being Hera, though. And Leary being Philip the Good. But both of these players have a crystal clear macro. You can see 140 and 1 minute 3 seconds of TC idle time in a 30 minutes game with 3 TCs is insanely efficient. The macro of these players are both extremely strong, and now he's gonna get the villagers on stone. And I think all he needs to do indeed is just cancel these villagers here, and you can go up to Imperial right away. We're gonna have a university coming in, a market as well. Siege workshop is already in, so you can now cancel the wheels and go up into Imperial. A couple of skirmishers trying to harass on the left side. That's a nice move from Philip, but once again, it's not accomplishing much. And so we had the lead skirms being mixed in by John the Fearless. And still, it's Vikings eco, man. Some people consider it too strong, some people consider it OP. And I partially agree with that, because if you don't push Vikings in Castle Age, you will be beaten to Imperial. I think the only civ that can actually beat Imperial or beat Vikings in such a game to Imperial is Saracens. Anybody else, they don't have a strong enough eco to go up into Imperial. And the Saracens could just use the market and go 1 TC Imp to try and beat the opponent, but they don't have an eco behind that one. Vikings eco is super strong. Like, Vikings, the only reason why they're legitimate Arabia civilization is because of their eco. So, with that, John the Fearless lost the majority of his army, that's totally true. And are those gonna be elephants? Because one thing that we didn't actually look at is that Philip actually did a very nice job with the push and with skirmishers, and the mangonels are nowhere to be found. The siege workshop did go up, so now there is mangonels from Philip, as John the Fearless wants a castle. Because there is two options. If he goes for Arbalest, and Philip isn't going for skirmishers, he's just going to clap him with arbs. On the other hand, if Philip goes for 4 skirmishers, I think that the play from John the Fearless has to be berserks. It takes some time, but even a couple of berserks can actually help quite a bit. So, Imperial Age is in for John the Fearless, and look at how many resources he's floating. He's actually housed really badly, MBR confirmed. 115 population over here for him, floating 1200 food after grabbing Chemistry Bracer, and we don't even go for Arbalest. Still, this is a tricky micro because Mangonel this, Mangonel that. Castle Age and Imperial Age Mangonels are completely the same. Still, look at this micro from both of these players. Neither of them are shying away from dancing around against Mangonels. That tells a lot about the personality of these players. Both of them have confident micro against this. And it's actually going to be Vietnamese Knights. Now, Vietnamese Knights aren't bad. The problem is that the Berserks will eat them, Arbalests will eat them. Vietnamese Knights actually have everything in Castle Age. They're missing Blast Furnace and the Paladin in Imperial. So they're not amazing Cavalier, but it actually is an operational Cavalier. The problem that you're facing is that now that there is no more Elite Skirms, suddenly it's going to be Arbalests, and Arbalest Siege Ram, the ultimate way that the Vikings finish off their games. And also 13 on stone for John the Fearless. I feel like with this imp advantage now, what he's going to do is mix in Arbs, start moving up with those. He sees the Knights, and that's not going to be great for those skirmishers, that's for sure. But there is going to be some Arbs here that should have no trouble against the Knights. Should be Rams, but more importantly, that's going to be a castle soon from John the Fearless. And I think dropping a castle here would be extremely strong if he can secure that position. But it seems like he won't. He got caught off guard by the Knights, and he still doesn't have enough Arbalests on the field. It's only 3 Arbalests right now. He's got 8 queued up, but it appears that he got caught off guard by the Knights, and you see that Philip is not wavering under pressure over here. He knows exactly that he's got the Knights to deal with the skirmishers, and I have to say that Philip is actually playing this one really well, given the circumstances. And he's pretty much in this game. His cavalry in late Imperial is not gonna be crazy, but right now, John the Fearless doesn't really have an answer to the cavalry. Soon he will with the Arbalests, but that's going to take some time. And the Knights could run in and kill villagers on the gold mine. On the way to Imperial will be Philip. And let's see if Philip is actually able to rebound in this one. Because post-Imperial I actually start to like Vietnamese a lot more. Potentially Imperial skirms could be the thing here. A lot of things could be on the table for Vietnamese in this one. Rattan archers can also be mixed in potentially. Siege Ram is now in for John the Fearless, but doesn't really have the army to secure ground for those Siege Rams, and he's pulling the villagers to drop the castle over there. Still 2 minutes away from Imperial's Philip, and now his army isn't actually amazing, although that is gonna be an awful castle spot for... Oh, what is John doing? That's a huge mistake, man. That's an enormous mistake. How did he just try to get that castle up right next to the opponent's siege workshop with no army support? He knew about the siege workshops, there is no excuses for this. That is just a bad decision over there. Still, Arbalest will now start melting the Knights, so once they have the Imperial upgrades, they actually start killing Knights. And heal advantage is on the side of those Arbs as well, or those skirms. They have chemistry. We have a Ram that's actually chasing down skirmishers, and that's not a good fight for Philip. He's got +2 defense as well, and John the Fearless doesn't have +2 or +4 defense, but he's got chemistry and he's got bracer, so the only thing that's winning this one for Philip is numbers, but that's winning it quite nicely. So far, Mangonel's gonna come in to try and get some shots up hills, and Rattan Archers now out, but the problem with Rattan Archers is that you need castles to produce them, and also big siege ram push coming on the other side. So here comes the castle from John the Fearless, and he's gonna start making trebs immediately, I assume, although he might actually go for conscription first, because he might just say, okay, I have siege rams, I don't need trebs, but it looks like he's actually gonna go for treb. In this very moment, Philip actually reaches Imperial as well, but it is a question, can he actually keep his castle alive until he gets to anything here, because he's trying to go elite skirms, but honestly, if this castle is gone, this castle from John the Fearless will be untouched, and if it's full elite skirm and even light cavalry, berserks will just smash that. In fact, I feel like John the Fearless needs to start thinking about berserks. He's 18 on stone, getting a second castle up here on the right side. I feel like it is going to be a berserk switch, and I don't think that Philip is going to have an answer for that. He's even going for Imperial skirms, ladies and gentlemen. Here they are. And with that, we are gonna have plate boarding as well. It's never impossible to raid your way back into the game though, and that's something that John the Fearless has to watch out about. So I think he's gonna need another castle on the left side. That's going to secure the eco. Indeed, here comes a raid from the left. And if there's a castle here, there's gonna be 3 castles around, and this might be champion, honestly, from John the Fearless. He sees the Imperial skirms, and in this case, indeed supplies scale mail. It's gonna be a champion play. Philip actually selling quite a lot of wood over here. Remember that Philip is actually not in control over this gold mine, so his gold income isn't really great. We got relics, 1 relic for John, 0 for Philip. Neither of these players are relic gatherers. That's something that I would like to point out as well. So neither of them actually put a huge emphasis on picking up relics. But anyways, we are gonna have quite a lot of siege rams coming in here. Light cav actually being a little bit annoying here, but that's not really a big deal. Men-at-arms, and more importantly, longswordsmen coming in soon, and chieftains. Chieftains is important because chieftains will actually give the infantry attack bonus against the cavalry, and I think that applies to champions as well, not just pikemen and berserks. It definitely applies to pikemen and berserks, but I think it also applies to champions. So once again, Arbalest will pick up a couple of villagers here. Arson on the way, and I feel like there is nothing that Philip can do against the flood of champions right now. He's got skirmishers, he's got light cavalry. There is the very well positioned defensive castle by John, and he's using Vikings to their advantage. I also like that he's not showing the swordsman until he's ready with the techs. He's missing a lot of pierce armor. He needs to get more armor for those swordsmen. That's probably the key part. He's getting 200 swordsmen right now. Here come the light cav, but I mean, light cav won't even stop those arbalests, let alone the swordsmen. And now siege guns are still knocking on buildings. I think John the Fearless has this. It really seems like it. He's got siege to support his push. He's knocking down buildings with champions. And like Vietnamese could try to go for arbs here, but I feel like champion and skirmisher here works for John the Fearless. It seems impossible that Philip has the time to tech into onager. champion elite skirm would destroy everything that Philip has. Philip now wants to take this fight over here, jump on the skirmishers. Skirmishers trying to group themselves up, but this is not a good fight at all, to be honest, for Philip. Those light caps aren't really good. +1, +4 basically, but look at the champions just eating them completely. Maybe bombard cannons? Bombard cannons don't really stop the skirmishers. Thing is, they can land some nice shots, but they can't actually kill massive amounts of units like that. And they're very expensive, so losing them would be also extremely expensive. Here comes a monk coming in here. Apparently, Philip is having some wood control issues here as well, as you can see. This monk is actually lucky for John, because he sees all these villagers scrambling for wood, and he can just send 2 champions here to clean this up, but this game seems very much over. It is 70 army against 22, and indeed, Philip calls the GG. John the Fearless taking game number 1 in this one. I think it is fairly obvious for everybody here that both of these players are very, very high level. You see that they're super efficient, their tech switches are on point, so my initial prediction about these two players seem right, at least. John is Hera. Well, I can't say if it's Hera or not until they are actually revealed. In fact, I don't even know myself, but I would think that John the Fearless is Hera and Philip is Lyre. So with that, we will take a look at the draft. And we will go to the first home map of Philip, which is High Tides or Bay. Vikings will be gone for John the Fearless, and we will have Vietnamese gone for Philip over here. So we will actually be able to take a look at what the next home map is in a matter of moments. So if it is High Tides, I would think we are going to see Japanese versus maybe Malians or Berbers. Berbers could be an idea, but no matter what, I like Japanese more than whatever John the Fearless can bring in. Bay, it's also tricky. I think Bay wants to be Malay. Malay versus Mongols, most likely. So that's also a place where Mongols could actually prove to be better. So Philip seems to have a slightly better draft for his own home maps. For Cup, we do have Britons for John the Fearless, and I believe Celts for Philip. That's a good old-fashioned Britons versus Celts matchup on Cup. And Gold Rush, I guess Gold Rush will be Berbers, which leaves Malians for this map. I feel like Philip has way better civilizations overall. It's not impossible we're going to see something like Italians on Bay or even High Tides. And yeah, honestly, Cup could be Japanese, and then you could go for Italians on High Tides. I would actually like Japanese more on High Tides, but I don't see where Italians would be used. And Italian is one of the first picks of Philip here. So I assume he wants to use Italians on one of his home maps. We will jump into game number 2 now. So I feel like it's better to just jump into the next game. And oh, that is a telling truth. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. That's a green color. Number 1, if players are changing colors within a series, that's 5% price per reduction. But do you know the player that loves to play his green? It's Lyre. Also, the bro over here is very, very Hera-esque. I think it was in between Hera and Lyre, in between these two, and I wasn't really sure on which was which. I am now 100% sure Philip is Lyre. Because I think what happened probably, like, players don't read rulebooks in many cases, and probably he didn't read that he can't change color, and oftentimes it is like, okay, I tried yellow, but maybe he likes to play with green more. And he's like, okay, I lost the first game, I'm a little bit tilted, so I'm just gonna go and pick green over here. I'm going to stick with green for now, but That is definitely something I can imagine. Players don't read rulebooks. I can confirm that 1,000,000%. No matter how big the letters are in the rulebook, if you have a rulebook that has 5 words in it with capital red letters, they won't read it. So, really, I am fairly certain that he just forgot about the color rules, and after game number 1 he lost it. He feels like, okay, whatever, I want to play with my favorite color. Some players like to use friend and foe colors, so it would be blue and red for them anyways, but we know that Leary is one of the players that actually likes to play with green. So we got Leary and Hera, I believe, in here. I already see the YouTube comments saying, why are you spoiling this and that? But I mean, this is part of the story here, right? Yeah, Leary is a green player. Just as much as Viper is yellow, Winchester is purple, Project Belgium is orange. Leary is a green player. I think Taro loves red. But there is many players. Oh, I still remember the moment Nil learned that there were restarts in World Cup when he casted with T90. Yeah, feels like it. The thing is that I feel like it's not super hard to read the rulebooks. You only need to check a couple of things. Number 1, how many restarts I have. Number 2, can I lame? Number 3, what colors I have to pick. That's basically the 3 things that you have to check in a rulebook. You don't have to read the entire thing. In fact, I can 100% testify, first things first, that I've been screaming about this one for a couple of series now, that players are sending their Voyager alone, and that could be problematic. So here comes Philip and gets some shots on that Voyager, but I can... What did I want to say? I can confirm most of the rulebooks are literally word by word the same as the other rulebooks. In fact, I know for sure that most rulebooks are copy-paste other rulebooks. So if you would actually use software to compare the World Cup 2020 rulebook to this one, you would find that it is 99% the same. The only change is that in World Cup there were obviously slinging rules and it was 2v2. But I would dare to say that if you compare the Hidden Cup 4 rulebook to Hidden Cup 3, you will find that there is like a 90% overlap as well. No one actually writes new rulebooks for tournaments. It's always copy-paste. You have to check like 3 things as a player. You think that the issue was that it was hidden behind a spoiler tag? I apologize, but I feel like if you consider yourself a professional player, playing in a $70,000 tournament, you open spoilers as well. Like, come on, man. This was a discussion that we had with Nili. Lida just admits he copy-pasted future Tuopu's rulebook. Yes, I completely admit. The Tuopu's rulebook is copy-paste the Hidden Cup 4 rulebook. The Hidden Cup 4 rulebook was copy-pasted by Robo to the Hidden Cup 3 rulebook. And I think the KOTD rulebook was copy-paste from some previous event as well. So I don't think that anyone has written a new rulebook for 3 years now. It is always copy-paste from previous ones. So yeah, I'm not going to shy away from saying that. Everybody copies the rulebooks because it's always the same thing. You can't delete straggler trees. You can't attack the opponent's Voyagers in Nomad settings before 3:30. You can't build the barracks in Nomad settings before 3:30. It's always the same thing in rulebooks. There's just a couple of things changing. Can you lame? What colors you pick? And things like that. Why is this lady actually going that way? So yeah, basically I feel like this was a discussion during King of the Hippo 3 when we had a lot of like average community members playing in that King of the Hill event, that these random community members are preparing more for tournaments than pros do. So they actually read rulebooks, they arrive on time. And one of the biggest concerns right now of the Age of Empires scene in general is that the pros need to start behaving a little bit more professional, like reading rulebooks, actually arriving on time and stuff like that. They improved in that aspect. So 2 years ago we had players being 2 hours late from series, but at the end of the day they still need to, you know, start getting used to actually reading rulebooks. There is no different rulebooks for 1v1 and 2v2s. You just add some things for 2v2s like slinging, team positions, and things like that. But the majority of the things is the same. Same thing, like, rulebooks always have a section that says fair play, be polite to admins, be polite to opponents, arrive on time. There is no point writing this every time. It is just, you know, copy paste from previous one. Anyways, with that, I already see the YouTube comments saying just cast the game instead of talking about tournaments, but it was Dark Age, so we'll get away with this one. By the way, it's a Malians versus Japanese matchup over here. I told you that I like Japanese a lot more, and the reason why is because it's much harder to kill their fishing ships. 3 docks coming in here for Philip, 2 docks for John the Fearless over here, and the third one over here as well. So both players are actually going for massive water fights over here. Neither of these players are water players, but they both have pretty nice execution and unit control. So both of these are capable of winning water against the other, but it currently seems like Philip is dominating water. And I just feel like Japanese in general is a so strong civilization on this map. Even if John the Fearless is able to temporarily gain control over the water, he's not going to be able to kill the opponent's fishing eco. And you see that there's demo coming in already for Philip, who is starting to wall himself up. No land production buildings right now for John, so John still believes that he can actually come back on the water, but he lost his fishing eco. Although you have to add that Philip had some TC idle time, and because of that the ecos are still even. Enormous demo hit over there, and another demo comes in here from the other side, and that is going to connect as well. Oh my goodness, apparently the green color was the key here for Leary, because that is just an absolute stomp. 7 kills, 3 deaths, and now the repair vulture is going to be forced away as well. There is no ships. John the Fearless has lost water, and in this map the thing is that in the majority of the cases, the player winning water usually wins the game, because you're gonna have crazy food eco from that, especially with Japanese that have faster working fishing ships as well. Next step for Philip is to start walling himself up or start producing land military units, because when one player loses water, that's the one that actually is going to go for a land push. That is always the thing with these hybrid maps. Whoever loses water first is gonna go for a land push, and since John the Fearless lost water, or at least he's very close to losing that, he's going to start adding the barracks and most likely archers coming in here. And for now, this dock is actually slowly going down, and I think that if you're Philip, you start adding deep fish as well. I like the move of splitting them up as well, because you don't want your fishing ships demo sniped, although one of the very good things about Japanese fishing ships is that even demo snipes are hard against them. So 3 fishing ships on the same pond could be problematic for other civs, but you see, I'm going to show this, but this demo snipe isn't going to work well. Like, John is trying to look for some fishing ships to kill as he's running around right now with a demo, but there is none. But even if there was, a single demo doesn't kill a single Japanese fishing ship. That is what makes it hard. For regular fishing ships, they die to a demo. Japanese fishing ships do not. I think that Japanese fishing ships are a little too strong, to be honest, compared to others. I think 90 HP would be more reasonable than 120. They just feel so tanky, and that is an enormous advantage on such a map, because it is much easier for Philip to kill the opponent's fishing eco than it is for John. And it looks like Leary is actually going to go for the Great Wall of China over here with all this walling. The funny thing is that he can't actually wall these shallows, but I guess what he could do is just like get a couple of demos in to make sure that his opponent isn't able to get there. 400 food in the bank already for John the Fearless, going for double range, and it's going to be a blacksmith as well. Other side, we only have 1 range for Philip. He is making a couple of archers and skirmishers. He needs to balance out his eco though to click up though, because he's floating a lot of gold, and the better eco balance for John could mean that John can actually click up to Castage a little earlier. Still, that Japanese fishing eco is soon going to start skyrocketing, and it doesn't seem like John will have the chance to take control over the water. All walls are up for Philip. He's got a lot of resources at the back as well. I'm not sure what he's gonna do here. He's gonna have to do something, as he's going to mill his huntables. He needs a market though, because the reason why he's gonna get beaten to Castle Age by like half a minute or so is because Philip's eco is extremely unbalanced. 600 food, 600 gold. That's not the way that it should be looking like. There is some unbalance as well for John, but John is still gonna have a slightly better food count and lower gold count. That's exactly what you want to do. And Oh my goodness. I mean, is there any doubts about Hera now? He saws one skirmisher. This poor skirmisher was just coming in here to scout because Philip lost his scout earlier. Same thing for John. And this poor skirmisher was just scouting, and John pulls on all the dirty quick walls and traps that in and then stabs it down with a Voyager. Many players would have just left that skirmisher to run around and say, okay, whatever, it's scouting. But not John. He was like, okay, I'm gonna kill that, and he did. Castle Age will be indeed 20 seconds later for Philip in here, as he just continues to add archers. So we might see once again archer wars. We could technically see knights from Philip, but I feel like that's not really wise against Malians, because Malians have a nice response to knights, their own knights and camels. I think if you are Philip, you want to focus on full crossbow play, because John will actually have to tech switch into something else later because they don't have bracer for Malians. So Malian skirms and Malian armbrest aren't amazing, and that means that if you just play this as an archer war, that's gonna be favoring Japanese in the long run. It's 11 archers versus 15 though, and the archers are now moving in. Don't ask me why Philip thinks that this is alright here. He sees that the opponent is coming this way, and he intentionally leaves this one open, but this could be bad for raiding later on. Archers now coming in. As, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, John thinks that this is the base of Philip. He thinks that the walls are here, and he's like, oh, I'm getting into the opponent's base now, friends. He legit thinks that he will walk into the opponent's base. That's gonna be the biggest bait ever. And Philip is probably laughing like, aha, not so fast, my friends. Probably this is the one where John is like, are you serious? I worked so hard for this. Oh my goodness. Now crossbows are in defense. Siege workshop coming in as well. Fast ballistics, crossbow bodkin is the standard lineup over here for Philip. The docks are down, which means that Philip is going to have ultimate water control. He's already adding fish traps, but he still has a lot of deep fish to work with. One thing that he could later on add is a dock here, so he can actually make this fish a little bit more efficient. Here come the crossbows. Ballistics is actually faster for John. So he has gotten the university up a little bit faster. It was a mangonel first for Philip, that's why he's not grabbing ballistics, and it's gonna come in right now. So with that, he's gonna be able to hold this one, and he will just have a crazy fish boom. No second TC just yet for John. So nice move over here from John though. That's actually a beautiful move from him. He also picked off 2 Voyagers in here, and since we missed out on that, and I don't want that to be missed, we can actually go back and check it out. Indeed, the crossbows actually hit the other side of Philip's eco, and those are actually crossbows with bodkin and ballistics. They will pick off 2 Voyagers over here, and now they're heading towards the wood line. So we're gonna have a ballistics almost in here for Philip. John already has it, but there is mangonel support for Philip in here. +1 defense in for both players, +2 coming in as well for Philip. And really the extra resources that he's having from the fishing eco helps quite a bit. Big mangonel shot connects. And it is 10 crossbows versus 16, but there is mangonel support over here as well. These crossbows will also get cleaned up. And it's also, as I said, +2 defense for our green player over here. So at this point, it is 1 TC play for both. Second TC, however, is coming in here for Philip, and there is a 5 Voyagers lead. That consistent 5 Voyagers lead is going to be a big thing in the long run. This TC might actually go denied, though, by the crossbows. It looks like we'll have an engagement instead in the middle. Crossbows retreat for the time being. They only have half HP overall, and indeed, our green player realizes, hey, my TC is actually going to get denied here. He's running for his life with his Voyagers right now. So he's gonna have to take the hill and take this fight though. +2 defense coming. I think he's waiting for +2 defense. And with that, he's gonna be able to potentially take a fight here, but still, many of his crossbows are very, very low in terms of HP. And well, we'll have the fishing ships slowly running out of deep fish, but this pond has so much deep fish that it really is worth being able to control it. And that is why Japanese are so strong. They have strong fishing ships, it's hard to kill them. They're able to go for the early pond control, and once they have it, they actually get an insane food eco from that. Tumbling will pretty much be fueled by the fact that our green player has water control. That's why he's able to afford such things with free TC boom, whereas his opponent is on 2 TCs. I think in the majority of the games I've seen on this map, it feels fairly obvious that whoever wins water is actually winning the game as well. Because the eco advantage is so big. Big mangonel shot with capital letters. John the Fearless losing all those crossbows over there. And it looks like Philip is actually taking over in this game. 15 crossbows, 3 mangonels over here. John actually diving in to try and snipe the mangonel. Nice micro, although John eats the edge of one of those shots. So we are gonna have some more crossbows pushing in here. John the Fearless, I think the score tells the truth here. The score is really telling the truth. It is a fairly significant advantage currently for Philip. And with that, Philip is gonna be able to finish off this army over here. 14 crossbows, 2 mangonels versus what essentially is basically just 10 crossbows, 1 mangonel. This is actually a very nice hill to hold over here in the middle of the map. But other than that, there is not really a lot of things going on for John the Fearless. He will try pushing this one, but honestly, it's Gilnet's time. 67 voters compared to 61. It's not like John the Fearless is that much behind, to be honest, economically. In fact, I am very surprised that Philip is not a lot more ahead. It seems like he isn't really consistently producing vouchers here, so there might be some idle time on the TCs, because technically he's supposed to be a lot more ahead, but that might soon change because, oh boy, here come the crossbows. And I think John was actually microing his forces over here, and Philip is going to bash his way into his base. Quite a lot of vouchers go down, and now the mangonel could actually take a shot over here. This is a tricky micro. It's going to be a couple of crossbows straight for the mangonel, but that feels alright in this very moment. So with that, we're gonna have the crossbows once again diving in here. I think for Philip, you can actually afford to just dive in here and pick off as many voyages as you can. 2 TCs versus 3 TCs, but this TC is under attack. But while Philip is actually distracting John, Philip can actually dive in here with the mangonels, and let's see if John reacts to this one. It doesn't appear so, and that is 2 mangonels down without any reaction from John the Fearless. As I said, he was too busy microing this, and I think this is the moment where John is indeed just tapping out, saying, okay, I understand, it's over. It was indeed sort of over. I think the score tells the truth. Philip would be able to outboom his opponent by a massive margin. In fact, Philip was already preparing a full knight switch, so that he's able to surprise his opponent and just overrun him with like 20 knights. And with that, the green color apparently giving that back the power for Philip the Good. And really, this was a good game for Philip. Previous game, you could say it was Philip the Bad, but reality is that he played well in both games. But this one was way better from him. Winning the water gives you so much advantage in this one. And just as much as John the Fearless was able to use the Vikings eco to his advantage in the previous game, now Philip is actually able to use the fishing eco to his advantage. Alright, with that, we will take a look at the draft once again. So, John the Fearless losing his first game over here, so we're going to Cup or Gold Rush. John the Fearless losing Malians, and the Japanese will be gone for Philip. I think if we go to Cup, which was the decider game between John the Fearless and Leiloy in the round of 16s, I think it's going to be Britons versus Celts matchup now. If we go into Gold Rush, it seems like a Berbers versus Aztecs matchup, to be honest, because Aztecs is still there for Philip, and the only map where Aztecs make sense is Gold Rush, to be honest. Other side, High Tides Bay for Philip still. We had High Tides already, so Bay will probably be Malay and Mongols, or potentially Italians. But I think Mongols are still better than Like, if you have to choose from the two, I think Mongols make more sense for Philip on that map. Anyways, we first go to the home map of John. So Cup or Gold Rush is the name of the game, and we have an even score for the final spot. In the or not qualifiers, what am I even talking about? So it's the final spot in the semifinals. We already have 3 players in the semifinals, and we will soon have one more joining in for a total of 4 players. Semifinals, I think, have already been played, but they will be casted from recorded games tomorrow before the grand finals. And the grand finals will be live games, but with hidden identities. Identities of the players will be revealed after the grand finals. So with that, we're just waiting for Robo to drop the 3rd recorded game over here, and then we can actually jump inside the next one. As I'm saying that, Philip the Good versus John the Fearless. We will actually jump in game number 3, and once again, it looks like Philip is actually going back to the yellow color. I feel like the problem is that he already played his cards. Like, he probably realized, or someone actually told him, that you have to play yellow after the game. We're going to Cup, which was an amazing game between John the Fearless and Leiloy. For quite a while, it seemed like Leiloy was winning the decider game against John. But then John actually made a quite insane comeback with Britons against Celts. And no surprise about that, this is the good old-fashioned Briton versus Celts matchup. Left side is John the Fearless in blue. Britons right side will be Philip the Good as Celts in yellow. And looking at the base of the players, once again, I say this every time I see this map. I feel like the base for Philip is, or for John, is more defendable. Every time I see this map, the player on the left side has the golden stone in a relatively defendable position. Even if it's over here, it is actually far enough from the water to be reasonable. Whereas every time I see the player on the right side, they have some of their resources being super duper mega open. I don't know why this is. I think it's just a map script bug. I think I've been saying this for last year now. So Hidden Cup 3 had the same issue. I think Hidden Cup 4 Cup as well is the same thing. So when you are minus 5% already, can you might just keep ignoring the rule? I think the rulebook says that you lose 5% of your prize pool per game where you messed up your colors. I'll have to check it out. But like, there is actual reasons. The thing is that players don't think about this. And oftentimes viewers are also like, why do you actually penalize players for that? The reason why it's actually done is because casters want to be consistent. It's very hard to do casting when the players actually keep switching colors. So that's why they are always enforcing colors. Sometimes there are other factors as well. So for example, Red Bull actually enforces red and yellow colors because of the color set of the sponsor. And let's see. Tournament rules. Gaming rules. Player colors. Players must stick with a single color for an entire series. They may freely choose their color as long as it is not clashing with the opponent's color. It is each player's own responsibility to make sure that their color is correct for all games. It seems it doesn't actually write 5% prize money loss, but back in the days we had 5% prize money for this. And I know that basically the best way to motivate players to not mess up things like that is with prize money reduction. So I'm not sure if it's actually 5%, but I think we had at least one tournament where it was. I think it might have been a Nilly tournament back in the days, maybe Deathmatch World Cup or Fair Sifs Cup. I don't remember, but one of the tournaments that Nilly had prize money reductions for wrong colors. Anyways, we're gonna have John the Fearless bringing in the second board right now. That second board is actually just in time. This board is pretty much out of food. And you are gonna have what is essentially a pre-meal rush timing. Actually, no, it's a post-meal rush, although honestly, this is in between the two. This is after the mill, but this is already villager 16 or 17 building it. So this is an earlier drush than standard, but not really a premier drush, partially fueled by the fact I believe that Britons can send one less villager on sheep at the beginning. So that is going to be a drush coming in here for our blue player. I think it might just be one militia, because what you want to accomplish is having your scout and your militia kill the opponent's fishing eco. Philip the Good instead goes for a dock and he goes for the fishing ships over here. And this is why Celts were so popular in Hidden Cup on this map, especially Hidden Cup 3. The faster moving Celtic militia are capable of chasing down the Dark Age fishing ships, but that has been changed since the last Hidden Cup. So this is why we are seeing modified versions of this nowadays. We have seen like fast men-at-arms plays from Celts in this one, but this is basically the concept of drushing on this map. All you want to do is just idle your opponent's fishing eco, and if these fishing ships are idle, they are basically useless investments. Fishing ships at the beginning of the game are always expensive, so if you can just idle them, that's already sort of an achievement, and that is a nice move from John. He's going to wall off his base, I think, entirely. Philip is actually going for a fast feud late here, but you see, Philip has one villager on food, and it looks like we're going to see probably a galley from him, because he's adding villagers to gold. So, right now he just needs to be patient, because once he adds a galley, he's gonna be able to kill the scouts, the militias, and that means that his food eco can actually go back on track. He's also gonna do some walling over here. It is quite unfortunate for him that his deer spawns so far on the outside, because this is definitely not ideal for him. And I believe that John indeed is just going to send in one of his militias to kill the deer. Other side, it looks like we're gonna have a dock as well for Philip on the other pond, so he wants to go for some crazy fish boom. Whereas John the Fearless, apparently he is not afraid of an early push, and he's gonna go for a Briton Drush FC over here, dropping quite a lot of farms. It's probably gonna be Drush FC crossbows, but the question is always the follow-up here on this map. Because the thing is that on this map, I feel like finishing off the opponent is always extremely hard, because the back of the base is so well defendable for the players. Dock is up as well, and Philip will actually start adding fishing ships over here. He can even send this watch to take fish from this pond if needed. And no galley just yet from Philip on this pond. Apparently he can't afford it, and he prioritizes Birax before he actually goes for a fire galley. Interesting is the fact that he goes for fire galley instead of a standard galley. It's gonna be better if John the Fearless goes for ships himself, but I feel like in this situation a galley makes more sense. Now it's a feud late scout versus a Dark Age scout, so Philip can actually even things out here, and we'll have a fire galley coming in here as well. Nice move from Philip, going hit and run, and he's just waiting for the fire galley to come in, and he should be good to go. Other side, it's a 28 Villagers Drush FC, looks pretty clean. Forms might be a little bit low, but I think it's gonna be just enough for our blue player, especially at 5 on berries. Fire Galley is out here, and the Fire Galley will come in here. John actually is trying to kill that Voyager by blocking it with the scout and coming in with the militias. That's going to be unsuccessful as well. And there is nowhere to go now for John. He runs into another Fire Galley over here, and I think that scout could actually die. Indeed, Philip is just going to send in his scout to finish that off. Nice move over there. That's actually an important move, because denying the opponent from scouting is actually extremely important. Now John is also up to field age, and he is gonna go for usually with Britons you go for Drush FC crossbows, but this is the sneaky part, and John actually wants this to be sneaky. He's hiding that stable from the opponent. I think he wants to go pretty much for a Hoang Rush over here. Goes for Loom, but he doesn't really have the food to click up, so this is gonna be TCI all time Castle Age here. It would be a 28 plus 2 timing with Loom, and I think he's actually alright with that. He's able to squeeze in one more Voyager. I thought there is gonna be TCI all time, but nope. Nicely done by John the Fearless. He's got 0 second TCI all time, man. I just wanna give a quick shout out to John the Fearless for that. Like, this is the highest level of competition, as you see. Crazy efficiency for these players. Other side, somewhat uncharacteristic of Philip, is the fact that there is a 1 minute idle time on the TC. Probably comes from the fact that the fishing ships were idle for so long that there was just no food income for Philip. So that's part of the equation. Still, 6 Voyagers lead. And the thing is that the fishing ships will help Philip catch up in Castle Age. He's playing semi-open, so he knows exactly there is a hole over there, I hope so. Yeah, he knows exactly there is a hole, but he doesn't really care right now. And it looks like we're gonna have John the Fearless going with Knights, and I guess he just wants to go for the good old-fashioned Hoang push, so it's Knights, it's Drush FC Knights and Siege Workshop forward. The problem is that how do you push Celts with that? I understand the Britons concept over here because it's definitely surprising to see cavalry from Britons, although it doesn't really matter in Castle Age, to be honest. So that is still a reasonable choice, and if Philip actually gets a market up, for whatever reason he actually had the second layer of Palicide over here, if he gets a market up and balances out his eco, he can actually click up as well, but he's still going to be 3 minutes behind, and I am fairly certain that Knights will now start coming in. And I think John will actually be able to afford at least 1, if not 2 more additional TCs alongside a Siege Workshop. Yeah, 2 TCs. On this map, you have to boom yourself. You can't just go for a 1 TC Siege Workshop push. It's not gonna work. You can't finish off your opponent easily enough to compensate for your lack of eco. So I feel like what this is gonna be for John is a couple of Knights. He will try forward Siege Workshop pressure, but he's also going to go for a free TC boom. That's the right thing to do, I believe. John the Fearless won the same matchup previously. Yes, that's correct, but he was on the right side in that time. That was the decider game between John the Fearless and Layloy. It was an insanely good game, by the way. So, TC number 2 and 3 coming up, and that's the right thing to play this one. You don't want to go full aggro mode, it's more like, okay, add 2 TCs and then start pushing the opponent. That being said, Philip could very well think about pushing this one himself. He gets a couple of Spearmount. I think this, what you see over here, tells you why Britons were selected for a strategy for John. Philip was expecting crossbows the whole time, because in the majority of the cases you Drush FC for crossbows. And this is why I'm always saying that when you see Vikings, it's not 100% guaranteed it's going to be archers. It's 90% chance, but it's never 100%. In Red Bull we have seen so many times that players are playing Viking scouts, because you try to catch the opponent off guard with a build that he's not expecting, and you can clearly tell that Philip was actually assuming that his opponent is gonna play archers. He went for 6-7 skirmishers that are completely useless right now because he's up against knights. There's a demo in here, so now John has to be careful. The other demo is coming in, lands a shot, but these are just demo rafts, so they're not doing much. But the Ford Watchers will be intercepted. Oh my goodness. I think John the Fearless is playing this one really, really well. Another demo comes in, sinks one of the knights. So the Voyagers are still around, but there will be more knights coming in here from John, I believe. So I'm really unsure if these Voyagers actually can get a Siege Workshop up. A second TC is in for Philip. He could get a Siege Workshop and potentially even a third TC in a matter of moments. But that doesn't change the fact that he's already up against 3 TCs, and Britons are also great at booming. One thing that Britons have to be careful about, though, is that Celts' late game is insanely strong on this map. A demo connected with a knight once again, and I feel like that 7 Voyagers lead isn't that huge. Celts' siege push is going to be a little bit scarier, although right now that Siege Workshop isn't doing much because you need a monastery or you need pikemen here. Spearmen are coming out, in fact it's now pikemen from Philip, so Philip wants to go pike and siege, which makes some sense, but as I said, you have to boom behind this one yourself. And I feel like the biggest problem here is that it's never possible to push this map enough to compensate for not having a good boom. So John the Fearless with 3 TC's defense, he's just gonna do mangonel defense, get a couple of knights, try and snipe siege weapons. He's going to heal up his weak knights. Look at this. All of those knights are very weak, but he's able to keep them alive using a monk. That's actually very nice. We got a random archer in here for Philip, and I assume that one of the knights will actually be sent out to deal with the archer. So, I would like to point out that Philip actually has dropped a lot of houses here. This is intentional by Philip, as he's dropping another Siege Workshop on the north this time. So he might try to attack from 2 different directions. but these houses actually block potential castle spots for John the Fearless, and they also block potential TC spots. So you see that he only made houses on the side of John. He didn't make houses here. He actually made this so that he has vision, and so that he's blocking potential TC and castle spots. You see the dog blocking this side, house blocking this side of the gold mine. Same thing over here, blocking it, and you also block the castle spot in the middle. So this is all intentional from Philip, and it's a very, very nice way to use the map to his advantage. So it looks like we're gonna have the barracks being taken down. I wonder if Philip actually thinks about adding knights himself. 3rd TC just now coming in for him. 4th TC even for our blue player, as we're gonna have Mangonel in here, but the knights are slowly bashing down the fire galleys. So Voyager goes down, and the thing is that, as I said, Philip's push here isn't really materializing. He's 10 Voyagers behind, and yeah, he's making siege weapons, congratulations, but you're not doing any damage to the opponent, and this is what I was talking about. Finishing off your opponent here is so hard over here. And now it's gonna be 10 on stone. If John the Fearless gets a defensive castle up, he is gonna have no trouble defending against the siege push. It could be a castle here, it could be a castle somewhere around over here. He doesn't need to worry about that much, to be honest. 11 on stone means that he can drop 2 castles in the foreseeable future. Mango shot comes out, misses the target. Nice mango as well from Philip, but once again juked by the opponent. And now it's 4 TCs for John the Fearless, 3 only for Philip. Philip's got Boso and Horse Color. His opponent's got Boso, Horse Color, and +1 on the TC as well with the wheelbarrow. It's a 1-for-0, nice move over there from Philip, but there's a second Mangonel coming in as well for John. John loses 2 Voyagers over here, and these are definitely things that he wants to avoid because he just wants to boom like a madman. And apparently he's not really caring about that Mangonel at this very moment. He's too busy microing the other side, where he dives in with the Knights, picks off 2 Mangonels, and now he's gonna bring in the Monks for conversions. And converting pikemen is one of the easiest way of getting rid of them, to be honest. If you only have Knights and your opponent has a couple of pikemen, one of the best things you can do is, especially if you have Monks already, is just to try to convert the pikemen, because that's the easiest way, as I said, that you get rid of them. With that, we will have, as I said, a 4 TC boom, 85 Voyagers compared to 68, and I just don't think that Philip's push here is actually going to do anything. John the Fearless isn't really piling up food though, so that means that he's not really progressing towards Imperial. First castle was planned over here and then replaced. This is an ambitious castle because there is mangonels that could stop this, and the second castle will also be placed somewhere else. Where's the second castle going? There was 1,000 stone in the bank for John the Fearless, who's dropping another TC on the gold mine. He's gonna play 5 TCs right now. Mangonel dance coming in. This castle is something that Philip should know about. No, Philip doesn't see that. Philip doesn't see the castle, and by the time he sees it, it's too late to stop it, which means that this castle is actually gonna be able to start taking down the dock. And now it's docks coming from John the Fearless, the same way that John played the previous round. He actually went for a lot of ships, and that helped him quite a bit. Going for the middle island, preparing for a long game. Looking at the resources, John's eco is fairly unbalanced right now, but eventually should be able to get up to Imperial soon. And Philip, not far away from Imp either, but still should be behind compared to his opponent. 24 Voyagers lead right now for John the Fearless. And I feel like at this point, if you are Johnny, you just want to go up to him, because that could be a nice advantage, that you can get like 2 traps out and actually start destroying these buildings big time. And then I guess it's just going to be galleons and traps from this lake. Maybe even this lake is gonna be dogged. Another castle comes in here to stop this other siege push. And this is why I feel like on this map, booming is the #1 priority and aggression is the second one. Because if you just go aggressive and you can't kill your opponent, you're not gonna catch up in economy, and you see that difference already rising. Now that castle is unlikely to go up in its current stance, indeed. John the Fearless is gonna have to bail out on that. So he's gonna need a Mangonel to deal with this, or just overall cancel that castle. That wasn't ideal. Still not going into Imperial though. His opponent getting ready to click up right now. John just clicking up in what is potentially one of the safer town centers. This would have been the safest, but this TC is also good for an age up. Now it's 2 Mangonels pushing this TC, and Celts eat TC. You should never forget that. Let's see if there's mangonels coming in here for John. Nope. He's got 2 more coming from the north, and he's gonna get a defensive castle to a rather bad position, but it's the type of castle that he can make. So he doesn't like that castle spot, but that's the castle that he can go for. He can't actually afford to drop a castle mortar forward. Once again, Philip's vision is actually limited, and that means that the castle is likely going up. With the castle going up, especially if you get Botkin in, you should have no trouble taking out those mangonels. Nice mangonel micro, by the way, from a yellow player, taking a 2-for-0. Beautiful, beautiful job over there. And now the pressure is actually starting to be bigger and bigger. Over here, we will have with some T90 farms over here for John the Fearless, and this TC might actually go down, even though there is Voyagers repairing from the behind. Botkin not yet in against those mangonels for the castle. Knights trying to dive in and snipe the mangonel, but that's not going to happen. These knights have so low HP and no upgrades, and it seems like we're actually going to see champions here from our British player against the pikemen. Imperial Age is coming in as well for Philip, but you already have galleys coming out here for Johnny. Johnny is a little bit low on gold, something that we should point out. He's got gold over here, but he isn't really mining that. He was mining this gold mine, but he was forced away from that. So 129 Voyagers against 104. It looks like we're gonna have probably a Hob and Siege push here from Philip, because he's teching into infantry as well. I think he's hoping that he can beat his opponent into Imperial, but that's not really the case. Indeed, Long Swordsman and Champion coming in very soon. And John the Fearless isn't able to drop an additional castle over here, so he's gonna have to settle with the TC. And this is why I thought about these building positionings. This makes it very inefficient for John the Fearless. You see that these Voyagers are pretty much derping out. In fact, this mining camp is awful, because it might not seem like it, but this is actually blocking the gold mine. There is no actual crossing in between this outside area and this 2 tiles over here. This mining camp has actually blocked the gold mine from this side. Obviously, when the dog goes down, everything is going to be fixed, but until then, this is a massive gold eco, and you see why Philip actually made those buildings the way that they were made. Now, it seems like these mangonels and trams actually did quite a lot of damage on this side of the map, but we're just waiting for champions to arrive, I believe, from John. One thing that he has to be careful about is that onagers could be a very scary force to fight against, and I think Void Raiders will soon be a reality as well, and mobility early on in Imperial is going to be on the side of Celts, so Void Raiders, now it's Halberdier, but it was cancelled, and now it's 200 Swordsmen, so it's going to be Swordsmen. But Void Raiders will actually be very nice to just raid you with their speed. And there isn't really a lot of ships either to protect these gold miners, so just a couple of Void Raiders could actually start killing a lot of deals here. Champion Iron Casting on the way. But look at this, Void Raiders already moving in. Void Raiders and Champions trade relatively even, but those are Voids with +2/+2, no elite right now, and those are actually a lot of 200 swordsmen. Nice mangonel shots though from Philip, and he's also getting onager. And the thing is that I like Void Raider onager a lot better than just champion as it is. And Britons don't have bombard can deal with the onagers. Like, their best bet is like arbalests or longbowmen to deal with onagers. And as I said, just a couple of Void Raiders here from Philip could actually cause a lot of chaos as well. Another castle comes in here for John, as Void Raiders is the main target for Philip. I think he will just go for Siege Ram and not go for Traps. Nice onager ground attacks over there from Philip. He's doing a really good job. And there is slowly an increasing amount of war galleys over here, as John the Fearless wants to launch direct assault. And look at this. Philip just deletes all the wars, drops another castle, because he knows that those champion might just try to camp beneath the castle with arson and just take it down. Another castle goes up. I think Philip right now is waiting for the food to pile up for Siege Ram. There's going to be a dock as well, and we might see some demos, to be honest, from John. A couple of demos here would be very devastating, potentially. And now the champions start marching in, and this will force Philip to fall back home, as the champions will just take down the TC here in a matter of seconds. Void Raiders are back at home here, but this is not going to be a very efficient fight for Philip. Still, score is awfully close, but I feel like now John the Fearless is actually taking over, because he's already out with 35 champions against only 21 Void Raiders. So the numbers are in the favor of John, and if he takes down the castles, Void Raiders will be no more. That being said, the onagers could definitely be useful at killing those champions, but it takes quite a lot of time, and you see, while he's dragging away the Void Raiders, he's actually gonna bring in the champions to this side, and if he can kill the rams and the trebs, that's actually great value for him. He's already making barracks over here, getting the trebs out on the left side. Elite Void Raiders just now coming in, as the champions will try to jump on top of the onagers. There is Galleon, there is Botkin Arrow coming in as well, and I think that this was reasonable value for John over here. He is 40 Voyagers ahead, now it's going to be Galleons, and on the other side, as I said, all the Rams went down, and I think that all thing that John needs is just a couple of traps to take that castle down. It's only 100 Voyagers for Philip, 129 population. John seems to have this. John seems to have this one over here, because the thing is that the Void Raider production is going to disappear in a moment. This castle is exposed to double traps and a couple of champions. This castle is exposed to 2 traps over here with no hope of taking them down because the water control is pretty decisive for John the Fearless. Actually goes for shipwright even, but that doesn't matter. John the Fearless takes over once again, and we got a series for us over here. And with that, John the Fearless takes game number 3 over here. And indeed, this is the exact same strategy that he used against Leiloi in the previous round. It actually was easier for him to finish off the opponent this way. So Leiloi held out a lot longer, but although part of that could be the fact that that was the final decider game for Leiloi, and Leiloi didn't want to quit early. So we're gonna jump into the second home map now of Philip, which means we're going to Bay. In terms of civilizations, Britons are gone for John the Fearless. His top 2 civilizations that were remaining after a snipe were wins. Malians was a loss, and the Celts is a loss over here for Philip. And Philip actually used his 2 latest picked civilizations in these 2 games that he lost. He's gonna have Mongols or Italians now for Bay. The question is if it's Malay or Berbers. I would think it's Malay, but Berbers is not completely impossible trying to counterpick Mongols. So don't sleep on Berbers. I think it's going to be Malay, but it is very possible we're going to see Berbers. If it is an even score after this, the decider game would be on Gold Rush, which, considering that this matchup could be Hera versus Leary, would be an interesting one, because land map is where the 2 players, or land maps are where the 2 players are the strongest. So that would be an interesting end to this series. With that, right now, John the Fearless is having the advantage over the opponent. So it is 1 game away from Philip to get out of the tournament. It's still a very, very reasonable chance for him to come back into this one, because I feel like he has some very, very reasonable civilizations remaining for these maps. I would dare to say that he might even have the better civs left, but he gotta win this Bay game over here that we'll jump into in a matter of moments, I believe. So Robo is gonna post the recorded game, and then we can get into game number 4. It's match point. John the Fearless actually had a very, very close series in the previous round. So far, this seems a little bit easier for him. But obviously, this is far from over, and we have seen that Philip, he can be a really strong player on High Tide. And now we're going to Bay, and the 2 maps are somewhat similar in at least some ways. And oh my goodness, I feel like Philip just doesn't care. He's back to green once again. Are we going to see a tendency where Philip is just going to keep winning it with green and losing with yellow? Right now, Philip is 0% win rate with yellow color, and he is actually 100% win rate with green. So apparently it doesn't really care about the color rules over here. We will have John the Fearless on the left side playing as Malay in blue, and this is where I was talking about Italians. Mongols seem to be the straightforward pick for this map, but oftentimes Italians is the sneaky and underrated safe pick for this. Both of these civilizations are slow-moving, tanky armies, and it's going to be mostly focused on clashes around this area in like early Imperial, late Castle Age type of a thing. So the Imperial Age timing, I believe, is going to be crucial for both players. So indeed, we are going to Pants, which is the nickname of this map over here for its actual shape. So let's take a look. We're going to have front gold for Philip. That's actually pretty bad. There is a back gold that's workable, and the woodlands are also alright. Berries are also alright. Stone is bad, but that's always bad on this map. For John, kind of the same thing. I'm not necessarily impressed by having one big woodland at the back and just a small one on the front, but this stone mine is actually okay-ish given the circumstances. Oftentimes this stone spawns very, very far out here, so a stone spawn like this is actually pretty workable for John the Fearless. So, let's see if Philip is actually going to be able to use Italians once again to win. And this is actually an interesting question when we talk about this one, that, you know, the thing is that oftentimes the players in Hidden Cup are using different colors than regular. However, you have to consider that many players got used to a certain color, and oftentimes that is pretty much just in your muscle memory. So for example, when you play a lot of green, you will get used to looking at the minimap and seeing how things are rolling with green colors and the opponent's colors. If you play a different color, suddenly you could get confused in certain situations when you're looking at the minimap, for example, that, I don't know, you play yellow and you suddenly are like, okay, where am I? Or so. So sometimes changing colors for the players actually hurts them a little bit. It's not something that's big, but every little bit of detail matters. So we'll see if he's actually going to be able to land a green color victory over here once again. I think it's obviously better for the players that they play their most usually played color, but they also are trying to hide their identities. So that's part of the equation. With that, the first board has already been finished by Philip. Very nice timing, because just when the board actually came in, the second board arrives as well. Yeah, it's fairly obvious who these players are. I think this is why there's not really even a matter of discussion. I think after I saw the green color for Philip, it's totally Leary. Which actually is interesting to talk about. This is a Hero versus Leader matchup. Also worth pointing out that Hero likes to lure boars with 4 villagers inside the TC. That's something that we could actually see a bit of. So it's just a small thing, but once again, that is a bit of a clue towards a player like potentially Hera. Still, I feel like even after the previous set, I was fairly certain, or like after the John the Fearless versus Layloy series, I was like 80% sure that this is Hera, and now I'm 100% sure. Anyways, since we probably know that these players' identities, it's better to just focus on the games. We'll have 3 fishing ships out already for John the Fearless. Philip actually clicks up to Castle or Feudal Age a little earlier, but in reality, it doesn't really matter, because John is Malay, so he can actually catch up. He's gonna go Loom, and did we have Loom for our green player? Yes, we did. So it's a Loom, 22 pop Feudal Age. Whereas on the other side, you see that at the end of the day, it's gonna be a 20-second differential. So it could have been a little faster for John, but it seems like we have a second dog coming in here for Philip. So once again, he wants to secure the water for himself, very, very similarly to the High Tides game, I would say. So with that, This is gonna be Vols coming in for John the Fearless. Interesting decision. He's not sending a Voyager to drop a second dock. So what is he up to? Usually you only start voting yourself when the opponent actually starts pushing you on land. So what even is this from John? It's a one dock play. Bit-axe galley. He's making galleys. So he wants to snipe fishing ships, that's obvious. But the thing is that Philip will just win the water this way and rebuild them. I am unsure on what John actually wants to do here. I think it's just going to be the good old-fashioned snipe the fishing ships and then go for a land boom type of a thing. You have to notice though that John the Fearless will have some food eco issues if he doesn't start adding farms soon, because he's gonna have 6 on berries, but his fishing ships will be idle. This isn't going to work well for John. 6 on berries isn't really enough to make your TC work, and this is a very, very easy advantage that Philip is getting here. He didn't even have to really fight for water, to be honest. This is looking really good for Philip, and now he knows that his opponent is probably just planning to go for land aggression later on, so he's gonna vow himself up as well. I feel like these free fishing ships will be an extra added benefit for Philip, and even if you're trying to just boom up into Castle Age, I feel like the Italian player is gonna catch up pretty easily because he's gonna have the better food eco. Italian fishing ships are cheaper as well, so even if John actually goes in and tries to snipe them, it's not really going to be possible. Like, it's not going to hurt his opponent that much because it's easy to rebuild Italian fishing ships. So once you have 3 galleys out, you're gonna have John popping out, and he is actually gonna go and try to find some fishing ships for himself. Indeed, here come the galleys, but the fire galleys are out here. As I said, a couple of galleys will die, or a couple of fishing ships will die. But at this point, even if you just have 3 fishing ships working here, that's 3 extra Voyagers compared to the Malay player. And normally the Malay player is supposed to have the higher Voyager count, and that is not the case. And I think that's already good for Philip. So, this is a big investment for John the Fearless. He is going to lose the galleys, and it's not like he's actually hurting Philip that much. Philip can actually replace fishing ships relatively easily with Italians, and nice move there from Philip, trying to cut off the path of the galleys here. He needs to be careful not to lose more fishing ships though, because you don't really want to go down to like 1 or 2 over here. And the galleys will now find some fish ships. That's a little sloppy from Philip that he didn't actually react to that one earlier, but the fire galleys will finish off this galley here. John actually wants to continue with the galleys here, but the reality is that by the time he actually starts killing those fishing ships, it's gonna be too late. So it's going to be fire galleys slowly taking down Johnny's dock over here, and indeed he cancels the galley and he's just gonna go for demo. He wants 1 demo snipe, so if you're a green right now, you just split up your fishing ships between multiple pawns. You can even send a couple of them over here. It doesn't matter that the travel distance is greater right now. And you see that the land boom here isn't really going to work out. It's a 5 Voyagers lead for Philip. The Castle Age times I think will be fairly similar, although Philip will actually click up to that earlier, but obviously Malay can catch up. That's a very, very easy water win for Philip over here, and it looks like now Philip actually makes a barracks because he wants to go up into Castle Age, but he will need buildings for that. The biggest bottleneck that Philip will be facing going into Castle Age is actually the buildings. He doesn't really have the wood for them, and I think he wants a range and blacksmith to go up. You could make a case for a market, to be honest, but it's gonna be blacksmith to reinforce the wall. Ideal would be the blacksmith range, but with this much gold in the bank, you might make a case for a market. This scout from Philip is still running around over here inside the base of the opponent, which helps him see that his opponent is just finishing an archery range over here. Bit-axe is in for John the Fearless. No upgrades on the eco for Philip, but in exchange to that, he's got 8 fishing ships working for him, range coming in, and just like in the High Tides game, the player with the water control is going to have a big enough advantage. Now, compared to High Tides though, on High Tide, whoever wins water has going to have an enormous advantage. Here on this map, it's not as big. So, the fact that Philip has water doesn't necessarily mean he's winning this one, but he definitely has a fairly significant advantage. As you see, he's gonna be 130 behind in terms of castle age though, because it is melee that he's up against. But his opponent doesn't really have a lot of archers, so I don't think that matters that much. It's gonna be 4 or 5 crossbows moving forward. I don't think they can do that much of a damage. So it's gonna be archers coming in as well for Philip. And mining upgrade as well. No horse cooler for either side. I think that is actually something that's more problematic for Hera. Or, well, John the Fearless, if you want to put it that way. Because those farms are actually all without horse color. That's definitely not ideal. Crossbow Botkin on the way immediately for him. Sends forward what is going to be 4 or 5 archers for now. His opponent is still 1 minute away from Castle Age, dropping fish traps already. What is this villager doing? I don't know what this fool is up to. But anyways, I don't think that these crossbows can do that much of a damage on Philip's eco. Philip is 40 seconds away, and you see that he's already adding houses behind because he knows that crossbows might be pushing this side. He's got fletching, no defense upgrades, both so on the way for John. And this is the moment where, honestly, the game slows down quite a bit. Because both players could just decide to go for a boom here, or I think John has the opportunity to decide if he wants to go aggressive. With melee, you can definitely consider that. Any thoughts on who Philip might be? I think I said this 20 times in this series. It's not thoughts. I know it's Leary. It's gotta be Leary. Nice move there from John. Picks off the fish trap, so he's actually trying to deny the fishing eco of the opponent. And with that, fish traps were actually picked off. Nice move there from Philip, jumping outside of the archer range, and he's going to pick off the crossbows from Johnny over here. Very nice move over there, outnumbers them, and the patience pays off for Philip. He lost, I think, 2 fish traps, but that's not the end of the world, to be honest. And it is still a 3 villagers lead for Philip at the end of the day, and now uses the fire ship to finish off this final little crossbowman. So second TC coming in here for Johnny, and look at this. This actually helps so much for Philip. He knows so much about his opponent's base. This scout being inside actually is very, very helpful for Philip. Because he knows about the additional TCs, he knows about the production buildings, so really, the extra information that he's getting from that scout being alive is crazy. Oh my goodness, there was a lot of crossbows getting slaughtered, and thanks to Capture Age, we can show exactly what happened. You can also see the crossbows dying in reverse order, but it's fairly simple what happened. Crossbows weren't patrolling and they just ran into the crossbow fire over here and got cleaned up. So, with that, apparently Philip wanted to go for an aggressive play here with the forward siege workshop, but that's not gonna happen. And honestly, Johnny is actually clapping him in the land right now. It is 12 crossbows against 2 crossbows only. Merely 2 crossbows on the field, and there's a defensive siege workshop for Philip, but this is a moment for Johnny to start moving up and potentially get a forward siege workshop for himself. He could also try picking up fishing ships here, which would once again swing the eco balance or the eco advantage in the favor of Johnny, and I like this move. He knows that his opponent is heavy on the fish, so he's just gonna go and pick off the fish trap, pick up the fishing ships, and if without the fishing ships, the melee player is supposed to have the eco advantage. Very, very nice unit control over those crossbows. Once again, Philip is waiting for the crossbows to pop, and he wants to trap this army in here with the help of a mangonel. But the crossbows could actually bash their way through these walls over here and potentially hit the villagers on the gold mine. There is no ballistics just yet from John the Fearless, but there's university for it, so you could actually get that anytime soon. Nice contingency walls coming in here from Philip, but those walls aren't super strong. Still no ballistics because he can't afford it. Mangonel comes in right now. 2 vultures go down. Actually, there is ballistics already. I apologize. I actually forgot that, you know, I can look at it over here. I am 9 hours into casting, so that's my excuse. In that case, this is a great scenario for Johnny. He actually idles a gold mine. I just jinxed him really badly because he ate a big mangonel shot. But he's diving in, trying to focus down the mangonel. A lot of those crossbows are weak, and there's a second mangonel over here as well. And oh boy, that was a big mango shot, and the mangonel even survives. If you trade off those crossbows to the mangonel, I would have said okay, whatever, but that was a big mango shot. Still, it's 60 villagers and 57, and I think the biggest thing here is that Philip is 3 TCs but only 8 on food, so he doesn't really have... Oh, we didn't see this one happening though. Once again, I feel like this is actually worth rewatching, because these guys have been here for quite a while, and with that, it's not only John the Fearless doing damage to the opponent's eco, it is also these crossbows. These crossbows don't have ballistics. If they actually had ballistics, this would be even more devastating. Pick off what appears to be only one villager. So the reaction was actually very, very nice from John the Fearless. And that's why it is better to have these with ballistics. One villager is not really the end of the world by any means. So that was completely acceptable for John the Fearless. Especially because he's gonna have the opportunity to just send in the crossbows and clean up this army, and I feel like that's also going to be enough. I think that one villager traded to 5-6 crossbows is, believe it or not, an okay situation for John the Fearless. Here, 3 TCs for Philip. He's not on stone right now, as we get Johnny adding villagers on stone. But here's the thing, the Malay can beat you to Imperial really badly, and that is something that you have to be careful about. John the Fearless is playing 3 TCs, but he can really think about Imperial Age with the goal that he's floating. And if he gets into Imperial, Arbalest and Bombard Cannon is very, very tough to stop, to be honest, from Malay. So, Mangonel is now pushing in here from Philip. Mangonel comes out as well for John as a defensive measure. And if he actually garrisoned this inside, a second siege workshop from John. He's scared about those mangonels. He actually gets a second siege workshop up. Gets a town watch even. He's got quite a lot of villagers queued up on all of his TCs. So it's a fairly consistent villager production. I think this is the time when you could consider stopping to produce villagers. You could really think about an early Imperial, Arbalest Bombard Cannon, and you have an insane advantage over Italians. Italians will probably be behind by 3-4 minutes to Imperial, and the Arbalest will just eat everything. Mangonels, crossbows, whatsoever. So really, this would be the moment for the power spike, I think, for the Malay. You don't have to cancel these wheels, but I think you shouldn't actually add more. You just probably wait until you can actually click up. You're gonna have around 20-ish Arbalest. You can keep these guys alive because you have siege workshops here defending your base. And I think the double ranges being added is a sign that John the Fearless actually wants to go into Imperial. I think that's the right decision. That's pretty much the right decision. Over here, it looks like we're gonna have a market coming in here. Philip just getting university for potential ballistics. But don't sleep on Malay. On this map, their power spikes are insane, and in 150 they will have Arbalest. And it looks like this is not something that John should do though. You shouldn't lose those crossbows. This is a bad move from him. Bad, very, very bad move. That's a 0 out of 10 decision making over there for John the Fearless. You need every bit of crossbows, and I don't understand the motivation of pushing out right now. You're going into Imperial, and number 1 rule of Age of Empires is that you never want to lose your army before reaching the next stage. Now Philip is going into Imperial, he's gonna be 2 minutes behind or so, but instead of snowballing the game with like 30 Arbalests, which you could have done, now you will have like 20 Arbs on the field. I don't understand this. And there's gonna be defensive castle for Philip. I think he knows that his opponent is up, and he's gonna try dropping that castle over there to slow down the opponent. And with that, when you reach Imperial, you actually prioritize chemistry. I don't think that Tumbling was worth it here for John the Fearless either, because you want the Bracer or Blessed chemistry, preferably chemistry first, because you want Bombard Cannon. And the thing is that now Philip has the chance to react to this one. I feel like this was an awful transition to Imperial from John. He pretty much threw away a very, very important part of his army. And instead of landing Imperial with like 25 orbs, he actually has 16 Tumbling crossbows. It looks like actually there was a couple of crossbows walking in here. Potato Caster completely missed this, but this brand new feature for Capture Age is implemented for Potato Casters like myself. So it looks like we didn't even notice this actual force running through here. And that's one of the reasons why Hera had to bring back his crossbows. Once again, it's going to be crossbows trade against crossbows. This is before Bracer. There is Thumbring, nice market wall, by the way, from our blue player. So this is before Bracers. That's actually a good trade for Philip at this situation, even though he's up against Thumbring. But at the end, this is pretty much all the crossbows cleaned up. But it's 14 arbs now. And this means that Philip has the chance to react to this one. I feel like this transition was really messed up from John. He shouldn't have used his crossbows to push here, lost them very, very easily. I don't think Thumbring was worth it before Imperial, because you can actually go for Bombard Cannons and Arbalasts. So I think Chemistry Bracer and Arbalast in early Imperial is worth it more than Thumbring in here. Obviously, it's easy to be smart from this chair that I'm sitting in right now. Obviously, when they will look at the recorded game, they will probably say the same thing. But in the heat of the battle, you have to make quick decisions, and not all of them are perfect. So we're gonna have some Arbalasts out soon. Well, they won't be Arbalasts, and they will just run into the Castle Fire Mangonel. Actually getting a shot out, but missing. There's a castle coming in as well, so you will have Trebs. But Imperial Age is now in for Philip as well. He even adds some stone walls over here to make sure that he's not gonna get surprised by some Arbalasts on that side. And you see, this is what I was talking about, immediate Chemistry and Bracer. And honestly, if he didn't have Handcart, he could have gone for Arbalast as well, but goes for Conscription at the beginning. The reason why he's doing that is because he's playing Elite Skirm and not Arbalast, so he can actually afford. One thing that I would like to point out is that both of these civilizations are heavily leaning towards archers, but the Italian unique tech Pavise gives 1 extra armor to the Arbalasts, and their light cavalry is also way better than Malay light cav. Italian hussars are actually very decent. They're not fully upgraded, but they are very decent. Whereas Malay light cav is awful. So, in terms of the quality of the Arbalest in post-Imperial, and in terms of potential raiding ability, that's way better for Italians in this one. And it's something that we have to consider, because mobility isn't really a big factor until Imperial, but after Imperial it actually starts becoming extremely important. Villagers will get killed, Mangonel is actually getting taken down here, but that's once again a good fight for Philip. He's actually going to finish off the Mangonel. Now it's still crossbows. Arbalest upgrade just now coming in. Elite Scrims are still missing the +4 defense, and there is Bombard Cannons as well. So John the Fearless is still pushing up because there isn't really enough numbers for Philip over here. But this could have been way worse for John. It looks like we're going to have more ranges coming in. And let's see if John is going to start mixing in either Light Cav or the appropriate response here, I think, to the pure skirmisher play is probably Forced Levy Swordsman, but that takes quite a lot of time. Bombard Cannons work decent, but I mean the skirmishers, you don't. The thing is that Bombard Cannons don't have a great blast damage, which means that if you use staggered formation, Bombard Cannons don't do much against skirmishers or Arbalasts. This is why they're sort of a light counter. I don't like Bombard Cannons against skirmishers. They work, but they're not super amazing. It's not like they're onagers. That being said, this castle is still holding. It looks like we're gonna have light cav being added here by Philip, probably to snipe the Bombard Cannons. But that castle is slowly going down. It's 3 Bombard Cannons now. This is Philip's tournament life on the line, who could very well be Leary. And I don't know if there was any tournament so far where Hera actually outperformed Leary or borderline beat him. I think there was a Hera vs Leary Red Bull Vololo 2 finals where Leary actually beat Hera. It was a fairly decisive advantage to Leary, to be honest. If this is Leary in green, indeed, and blue for Hera, then it looks like Hera is marching towards a potential semi-finals here, and I think it would be a sort of disappointing quarterfinals exit if this is indeed Leary, because the thing is that now I don't see a win condition for Philip. Like, he doesn't have the army numbers on the field, and he has +2 defense on the cavalry, but he doesn't have any cavalry on the field. He doesn't have production in these ranges. I think this is over. And with that, John the Fearless, indeed, becoming fearless and marching straight into the semifinals. And tomorrow, after the grand finals, we'll find out who these players were, but I think it's fairly obvious who these are, and it is very, very likely that we might have seen Lyric's final game in Hidden Cup 4 in what is going to be a somewhat disappointing defeat for him, to be honest, because I think that he was definitely aspiring for at least the semifinals finish, but potentially grand finals, as he's wishing good luck next to the opponent, John the Fearless, actually getting an easier win than he had against the previous round opponent. And now, it is actually brutal to think about the fact that Layloy almost eliminated this John the Fearless. So, John the Fearless gets into the semifinals of Hidden Cup 4, which means that he's the final semifinalist in a very convincing way, I have to say. In the first game, I felt like Vikings was a main reason why he won, because he didn't really outplay his opponent. But the cup game, he did outplay his opponent, and I think that this map was also one of those. Strategies seem alright as well. These are not amazing strategies, these are not something that's very, very surprising, but these are good, consistent strategies, and John the Fearless actually rides the bus to the semifinals.